I'll go back to the C.S. Lewis book, and it's one of the things that's really stuck with me from it. The devil tells his lieutenant, if you can't get them to reject church completely, get them to believe that their church is the only true one, and make them believe that everyone else is worshiping in a false church, right? And that, take advantage of their belief and then exaggerate it to a point where it becomes truly negative and the opposite of what it is. If you can't have a reasonable conversation about how we can have better outcomes, get people to double down on their position. Doesn't matter which side they're on. If you can get them to double down on that, if you can drive the wedge further in, you're doing the devil's work.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 2 of the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast. I am Miyaovich, and I will be your pilot on an unprecedented ride through the most innovative and forward-thinking analysis of the relationship between humans and guns on planet Earth. The entire nexus between guns and public safety needs a wake-up call, and Liberal Gun Owners is here to rock that party. Are you somebody who thinks you know what's going on with guns and public safety? I don't give a shit. I'm dragging your ass into the future whether you like it or not.
And what is your opinion on, so we've been facing, you and I and a number of the people from our community for years and years and years now, bad things happening with guns and people who are believers, potentially over on the right side, bringing thoughts and prayers. So what as the remedy, or blaming whatever, homosexuality, blaming the fact that the liberals are in the White House, blaming the weather, whatever. What are your thoughts on the power of how much power does prayer have? There are people that aren't just saying it's Satan, it's God, but they're also saying we need to pray, more prayer in schools. What is the actual preventative, mitigative power of prayer, in your opinion? Where's the reality of that?
So, you said a lot right there, right? I mean, so first of all, I'll say that the thoughts and prayers thing in terms of the what people say when there's something negative with guns, it's become as much a trope as all of the tropes of the gun prohibitionists. Politicians who don't want to do anything about anything. That's what they say. And it's become almost like required. You have to say something. You can't say ban the guns. So you say my thoughts and prayers. And you can't even say I'm thinking about these people because the religios are going to, get up in arms that you didn't say prayer.
Right.
Right. So all that politics is a serious part of the discussion. And people say, we praying for them. They're not actually praying for them. What they're doing is, touching the emotional feed pellet of their base. Here, I'm going to say the word prayer. It's like Donald Trump going and holding up the Bible. Right? Anybody who actually thought that was anything other than ludicrous and arguably, desecration, you got your head buried in the sand. Sometimes, I can share I'm sympathetic. I share the frustration with the anti-gunners who are like, don't just tell me thoughts and prayers, because no, not thoughts and prayers. My answer is not thoughts and prayers. I don't really personally, And again, Jews are not monolithic in their ideas about prayer, and some believe, all kinds of things. There's all kinds of beliefs about prayer and what it is. First of all, when people say we need more prayer in school, you know what they're actually saying.
What is that?
We need more Christian prayer in schools. Right? They don't think we need more prayer in schools, because Jewish prayer is very different than Christian prayer. We pray out of a prayer book. It's a set, dictated script of prayer each day. We wear those leather straps and boxes to fill in. We put on a prayer shawl. Daily Jewish praying takes about 40 minutes. Right? So they don't mean everybody come in and today all the Jews are going to have a regular morning service. No. Or Muslim prayer 3 times a day during the school day and twice later when you're at home.
Right.
Well, they don't mean that at all. What they mean is Christian prayer.
Right.
Exclusively Christian
Right.
prayer. So no thank you.
Right.
That's not even good for Christians. Is it? Because then the school gets to decide what the Christian prayer is.
Sure.
Right? Catholics are not banging down the door for Christian prayer in schools because they know. If you want to pray in school, go to a Catholic school where they pray the Mass.
Right.
Not some hippy-dippy, evangelical, made up prayer in English. No, that's not Catholic prayer. So it's not even good for Christians to get the government involved in prayer. I mean, all the founders knew that.
Right.
They all knew that. They all rejected religion and its coalition with government and state power.
Right.
All of it. So, yeah.
I would say it's fair for me to get this takeaway from you, that if we can call something the devil, it would be an unseen negative fury in the universe that works against humans, right? That we don't understand. But its power is not so much that we could just pray and that would be it. For that, it's a perfect shield and protectant.
Right.
Obviously, it's not. People who pray passionately still have terrible things happen to them. So prayer against the devil is like a sack of shit. Like it's not, I mean, it helps. It would probably help, I think, in some ways.
Well, and again, if the devil could be stopped with the recitation of some formula, then why would you be afraid of the devil? Right? Like it doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
I personally don't believe in the protective power of prayer. I don't pray to get things or for God to intervene and keep the sun from moving in the sky so that I can, get what I need. Prayer, the power of prayer is in its ability to change you. It's God focused, but it's the God within, right? The forces are within. These are not something outside of us. And so the act of prayer and meditation, prayer is really not a great word for what Jews do. Prayer kind of has the connotation in English of asking for something. Oh God, please let me have health, money, family, whatever it is. It could be good things that you're asking for. And there is a part of Jewish prayer that asks for things, but it's not premised on the idea that if you pray, you will get it. Right? It's premised on orienting your own spiritual and mental focus, intellectual focus towards the things that matter and deepening your spiritual considerations in a habitual way, right? An organized, communal, habitual way that brings you both closer to your community and to your own spiritual life. Yeah. So, the example I sometimes give when I'm talking to people about this, I say is one of the last prayers in the daily prayer service for Jews is a prayer for peace. We pray, may the God who created, peace in his own realm, make peace here on earth for us and for all of the people, and we say amen. We're centered around praying for peace and wholeness and, unity of purpose and, repair of the world. I've been praying for that for 30 plus years. And so have thousands and thousands of other people. And what difference is it? Is it better? Did it get better? Right? Like if it worked that way, if there were some mathematical equation, it's not math. Prayer is about personal growth and development, about spiritual orientation and direction, focus, aim, intensity, passion, purpose.
Yeah. And prayer is not a magic bullet against the devil, and it's not a magic bullet against gun-related negatives.
Correct. The in the book of Nehemiah, one of the later books in the Hebrew Bible, that describes the return of the Jews from the Babylonian exile back to the land of Judea following the destruction of the first temple. Nehemiah is one of the leaders of the Jewish people in his time, and he is rebuilding the walls of the city of Jerusalem. Major rebuilding effort following the destruction of the kingdom and the exile of the Jews. And what's happening is the builders are getting attacked by, local hooligans who don't want them to rebuild the wall.
Right.
So Nehemiah says to them, take the bricks and mortar in one hand and your sword in the other hand. Right? Don't stop the work. Right? You have to rebuild these walls. It's that too, by the way, is a metaphor, the rebuilding of the walls. But don't be a sucker. Right? Like, if people are attacking you while you're rebuilding, you have two choices. Well, I could just stop rebuilding, and then they'll stop attacking me. Gee, like people hate Jews. If I just stop being Jewish, they won't hate us anymore.
Right.
Turns out that's not true.
Right.
Or you could keep building and get killed. Nehemiah says, no, neither one of those is acceptable. Keep building with one hand, and in your other hand, take up your sword.
Right.
Like, you cannot be defenseless in the pursuit of holy work. And I think that proves, God is not going to come. They're rebuilding Jerusalem. What could be more holy? Right? But God is not going to come in and, miraculously be the ballistic shield to you.
And so this brings the thought to me. I think we talked about this the last time and Ed Gardner has said this before, where our community and what I call like the lib-prog reality in America seems to want the benefits of an act of democracy, but they want to live passively. And we seem to be really, and especially now that the digital reality is sucking more and more people into it and more inside and more online, our side seems to want some kind of Hobbes Leviathan or some kind of a government or some kind of an overarching system to take care of all kinds of stuff so we can worry about and do less, to be involved less in the grind, in the grimy stuff of being a human. And we want some other entity to take care of that. And that's, on our side, it's not God. It's the Leviathan. It's the progressive utopian perfect government. It's
right.
There seems to be, and we see this in guns all the time on our side, which is like, if there's anything about self-reliance and getting up off of your ass, I mean, guns are at least half of that.
Yeah.
So we have people that are into guns that are even like, they own guns, but they don't want to train. They own guns, but they still want a progressive utopian thing that's going to take away all the whatevers. When I talk to you, when I just hear your words there, what it reminds me of again is it never changes if you want better results. There has to be some balance between you. Yes, we lean on the collective. We lean on the community group. We lean on the church. We lean on the government. We're going to do that. That's okay. But we can't get rid of the other part, which is if you want shit to get better or you want to defend against quote unquote, the devil or the negatives of the world, you're going to have to get in there.
So I'll say a couple things. One is I think it's not just government and government power and guns that's true about. I think your point is a larger social one, and I've talked about this too often. The trend to cede authority to others for all kinds of things. So, for example, a regular person can't decide what is well-educated. You have to be a teacher or principal to be able to say what's well-educated. I can't say what health is. Only a doctor can say what health is, right? I can't make my own decisions about my health and well-being because I'm not a doctor. So I have to cede that personal authority to the doctor. Right. And don't question them. Don't question doctors. Oh, they're doctors, right? What's well-educated? Well, only a teacher or a professor. I mean, you know how many lousy teachers I had?
Yeah.
I mean, I had some great teachers. I was a beneficiary of tremendously wonderful education. But I had some terrible teachers. Only the police can keep you safe. You can't do it. You have to turn that over to the doctor, to the educator, to the police, to the clergy. Who can say what's holy?
Right.
Who can say what's the proper way to worship?
Yeah, or who can protect you from
the devil?
The devil. Who can protect you from the devil?
It's not you. You can't do it. You need Big Brother. You need some authority.
Yeah.
And in every one of those authority groups, there's horrible clergy, there's horrible teachers, there's horrible doctors, people who are truly not qualified to take that authority for me. Now, I do need a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? I do need educators. Yeah. I do need police. I do need government. Right? Like all those things are true, but only so much. It's that capital T absolute thinking that gets in the way. And the Lib Prog group are deeply guilty of absolutist thinking in the worst possible ways. In the Jewish tradition, in the Mishnah, which is one of the earliest rabbinic writings, there's two kind of parallel teachings about government. One says, pray for the welfare of the government, because without it, people would eat each other alive. Yeah. True, right? I mean, like, if all of a sudden all the police quit tomorrow, right, it would be bad.
Sure.
It would be bad. Things would happen bad. Yeah. So we need a government, because without it, human beings, we've always had governance in some way. It's a part of the human story. The alternative teaching is, it says, be wary of the authorities, because they are your friend when it suits them. But when it's not, they will turn their back on you. Right? They're not in it for you. Right? The number of people who think that like their representatives care about them. I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
They care about you so long as you are beneficial to them. And I think that's true of, our subset of the liberal political community, is that, like, do the leading Democratic representatives care about the LGO people? They do not, because our interests don't serve theirs, not the other way around. So that tension in our attitude towards the government. Yes, you need government. Yes, we need good laws, not laws, good laws, good governance, good doctors, good educators, good rabbis. Not just those things, because they're not all on their own good. And that willingness to turn over your own thinking to others. Well, what do I know? She's a teacher.
Right.
Please.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a senator. I'm like, yeah, he's a senator who knows nothing about guns. He knows a lot about gun control, but he knows nothing about guns. So I'm not going to cede and by the way, he's got somebody with a gun watching his back.
Oh, of course.
Like, Even he has not ceded it to somebody else. He took responsibility. He's got his own security guards standing around him.
It's one thing to be against guns. Okay. If you don't, I don't want everybody to like guns. I don't want everybody to own them. That's fine.
Right.
What I mind is that there are people that have the anti-gun stance, but they have this delusion that they live in a situation where they're not benefiting from the presence of guns also. And so, but in the case of these people, it's potentially the police have the guns and the army has the guns, but they don't even think about it that way, right? That they want to give the value of guns sum total a 0, even though they are benefiting. It's unfortunate that that's the way that it is. But there's deterrence that comes from the police having guns and the army having guns that everybody benefits from. So I don't care that somebody doesn't like guns or they're not into guns or they have a high gun control stance. I don't care about that necessarily. I can deal with that. It's the massive hypocrisy of believing that they live in a society where they're not also benefiting from guns, just at the level of the state. We started off by saying there's a potential negative force in this universe that we can't see, that we don't know everything about, that we need to keep our minds on. And it may have impact upon human negatives. It could have an impact on gun-related negatives. But one thing that I think is interesting about what we discussed when I started this off, I said sometimes it can take positivity and positive outcomes. It can use small things. It can use kind of everyday things to muddy the waters. It seems to be a reasonable thing to conclude that would be a part of its deal. And where I think we can see that, most people would say when it comes to guns, the devil, quote unquote, is only really involved in when people are killing one another. But I would contend, after Hillel and I have discussed this, that one of the ways that the devil can work against us here is to make it harder for us to get better outcomes through what I think the thing that you highlighted was absolutist thinking. It seems like that kind of a mechanism, if there is a devil, would be a wonderful mechanism to keep humans from better outcomes.
Yeah. I'll go back to the C.S. Lewis book, the Screwtape Letters, and it's one of the things that's really stuck with me from it. The devil tells his, lieutenant, if you can't get them to reject church completely, get them to believe that their church is the only true one, and make them believe that everyone else is worshiping in a false church, right? And take advantage of their belief and then exaggerate it to a point where it becomes truly negative and the opposite of what it is. If you can't have a reasonable conversation about how we can have better outcomes, get people to double down on their position. Doesn't matter which side they're on. If you can get them to double down on that, if you can drive the wedge further in, you're doing the devil's work.